Welcome back to Just the Facts Horns, y'all. My name is Jimmy. Texas versus Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry, number 3 versus number 12. Let's get it. Now, Texas and OU obviously are the two best teams in the Big 12. I think that's pretty easy to state. This very may well be a part one of two, seeing them again in the Big 12 championship game. I think there's a very great chance of that happening. These two teams are way more improved than last year and way more balanced than last year. So this game, I think, is one of the big Red River games in years. Maybe you could say the 2018 game or whatever, but this is the biggest Red River game in so long. And this one has a lot of college football playoff implications as well. The loser is going to need to win out, plus probably beat the winner of this game in the Big 12 championship game on the second go round. The winner still has that little mulligan to lose a game and still end up in the Big 12 title game. And if they win the Big 12 title game, they end up making the playoffs. So this is a huge game nationally, not only just locally or not only conference-wise. But OU, let's talk about OU's defense against Texas's offense. Now, OU obviously are a much improved defensive team. It's weird that they aren't terrible defensively anymore because they have been for so long. This defense is very aggressive, and that's how Brent Venables' defense is played. They're very aggressive. They're going to come after you. They're not as fundamentally sound as they would probably want to be and as other good defenses are, but they're very aggressive. They're very opportunistic. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a big challenge for Sark and the offense to attack this defense because they're going to be coming. Danny Stutzman's coming. Billy Bowman's coming. These guys are coming. And Quinn, we haven't really had an issue of him playing up to competition in big type of games. So I'm not having any concerns about him playing in a big setting like this because we saw what he did last year, 49-0. We're going to need to devise a blueprint to where the pressure is not on Quinn, to where he makes mistakes or looks flustered or is out of rhythm. So we have been doing a better job of keeping Quinn Ewers in rhythm this season. I think a big part of why he struggled towards the tail end of last year was he was out of rhythm and the play calls weren't really conducive to him getting a rhythm. And I put a lot of that on Sark. But this year, they have done a way better job of keeping Quinn in rhythm, keeping him really engaged, and protecting him in a way. Speaking of protecting him, we're doing that a lot with our best player over the past 11 or so, 12 quarters, Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks has been our best player since the fourth quarter of the Bama game. He's been our best player ever since. And he proved it again last week against Kansas, went over 200 yards. This guy is a godsend right now for us because I feel like our offense would be struggling a lot more if we didn't have him. He keeps our offense way more balanced. I think we're going to need to establish the run early and often with him. I think that's going to be the way we're going to have to go about it in this game. It's going to be high emotions, and I feel like we would need to ease Quinn into the game and really establish that line of scrimmage, establish that dominance up front. Offensive line has done a better job of blocking and protecting, things of that nature since the Rice game. And I think we can continue that here, owning the line of scrimmage. That's going to be a big key. We'll get to the defensive line in a minute, but specifically offensive line, we have done a way better job. Campbell's played a lot better. Majors is doing his thing. Banks and Jones are doing their thing. So I think we're going to continue to do that moving forward. That starts with Jonathan Brooks now. I think we're going to get him going early and often. He'll have over 100 yards and whatnot. As far as the passing game in this game, I'm not really concerned of Quinn being shut down or Quinn having a really difficult time with their secondary. Really, I think they have some pretty good corners and DBs. Peyton Bowen and then Billy Bowman, as I mentioned. But it's not enough for me to be really concerned. I think having JT Sanders is going to be a big, big key. A.D. Mitchell and Quinn have had a really great connection over the past couple weeks, especially last week. A.D. had a career game and whatnot. So let's see if he keeps that going. I think Xavier is going to have a big game. Always does against OU. Sanders had a big game last year against OU. A guy who had a big game last year against OU, or at least a big impact against OU last year, that is still on our roster and can still be a big impact, and I think could be a big impact that not many people are talking about, is Keelan Robinson. And he's our third running back. Or I guess in this case, this season, he's our fourth running back. But he's going to be our guy where we put him in on jet sweeps, we put him in on motions, we put him in on orbit, and he's going to really test the eye discipline of the Oklahoma defense. Last year, in the second quarter, and I'll end it off by talking about Sark's script, but last year in the second quarter of the Red River game, Keelan Robinson was huge. There was a drive in which Sark had Keelan go in motion. It was like a 5-6 play drive, nothing too crazy, but he had Keelan go in motion on every single one of those plays, and each one of those plays built upon each other, and it was like crazy to see. Like Sark was just completely in his bag and whatnot. And I think Keelan actually, I don't know if it was that drive he ended up catching a touchdown on that, but there was one drive where he had like 5 consecutive plays. He was in motion every time, going back and forth, back and forth. One of those drives, he actually had a touchdown, blocked perfectly by Whittington, by the way. But he had another play where he opened up another spot on the field for someone. He had a play where he caught a wheel route. He had a play where he took eyes off of Bijan, and then Bijan had a big play. It was just crazy. And I think he can be an impact. I think we've been saving him for this game. There's no reason we shouldn't have him on the field for a little bit more snaps. And I think Sark was kind of saving it for this game. So I think Keelan Robinson will have some type of impact in this game. Be on the lookout. Now, as far as Sark's script, I think we're going to need to get off to a quick start. We have been doing a better job of that this season. We got off to a good start against Kansas, at least on the first drive. Stalled out for a little bit, which I wasn't too happy about, but got it figured out. This year is kind of like weird. We're starting off a little bit slower, and then we're warming up as the game goes along, and we're finishing so strong in the fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure we are one of, if not the best team in the fourth quarter in terms of point differential. Maybe Georgia's up there too, but I don't think many teams are rivaling us when it comes to fourth quarter point differential. We're just blowing teams out in the fourth. Sark's script early on is going to need to be key. We're going to need to get off to a good start. Maybe not like, we're going to score 14 points on the first 2 drives. Maybe not that per se, but settle into the game as early as you can. We know how crazy this game can get, and the earlier we can get settled in, the better. Now, talking about Texas's defense against Oklahoma's offense. Now, Oklahoma's offense, I think, will put up points on us. We haven't had 30 put up on us since October 22nd of last year. That was Oklahoma State. We haven't had no one score 30 over us. And we've played Alabama. We've played Michael Penix and Washington. We've played TCU, the team who, had their run last year. Kansas State was a really good team last year. We played during that run. So teams haven't scored 30 on us in a minute. I think OU might be able to do that. They have a very high-tempo offense. Like I mentioned with Oklahoma's defense, they're very aggressive. Their offense is very aggressive as well. High tempo, trying to get you lacking, push the ball down the field, taking their deep shots. They're going to attack us. And are we ready for the challenge? We let up a deep ball against Kansas. We let up a deep ball against Baylor, deep ball against Bama, but other than that, I think we've been pretty solid with the deep ball. Those kind of plays kind of concerned me a little bit. But I think for the most part, we should be good. I think Ryan Watts is out, so that's going to be interesting to see. He is a game-time decision, so we'll see if he plays. But we'll see a lot of the other DBs regardless of if he plays or not. The safeties are going to play an excellent game in coverage. I have no problem with them coming down and fitting the run game. I need them covering out 30, 40, 50 yards downfield, making sure we're not giving anything over the top. I think Catalan will be massive in this game. Hopefully Jared Thompson and King Crawford are solid. Hopefully. If they are, I think we'll be fine. Their receivers do kind of scare me, with all that being said. Nick Anderson reminds me of a guy we had in Colin Johnson a couple years ago. He reminds me of Colin Johnson a little bit. Tall receiver who's still pretty fast, will make plays downfield, contested catches. You know, he kind of concerns me a little bit. Farouk gave us a little bit of issues last year. If they had a real quarterback, he would have gave us a lot more issues. But he's pretty good. And Andrew Anthony, transfer from Michigan, is really good as well. So those three guys, not to mention Stoops, who, damn it, he's so annoying. The slot play with him has been super solid over the last 3-4 years. He's hurt us in the past. They have a really good wide receiver core. Now their run game, I'm not too impressed with. I'm not concerned with that at all. We haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher this season, or a team in general to score over 100 yards, I believe. I take that back. Kansas might have scored over 100, got over 100 rushing on us, but I'm not about to check that right now. But all in all, our run defense is pretty well, so I don't think they're going to do too much to us on the ground. So it's going to come down to Dillion Gabriel. Whew. Can we get pressure on him? Because I think if we get the slightest amount of pressure on him, he can crack, he can fold. He is prone to mistakes. Now, he hasn't been sacked at all, really, 4 times this season. He hasn't been pressured much. So if we can bring pressure, and the good thing about Texas is our guys can bring pressure without blitzing. Against Bama, we brought pressure and sacked Milroe without blitzing. That's the luxury we have. In the past, we'd have to rush 6, 7, 8 people, blitz 8 people, and maybe get home. Shout out to Todd Orlando. But in this case, we have 4 and we're getting to the quarterback. Sometimes 3, we're getting to the quarterback. So T. Sweat, Murphy, all those guys in the middle. Barron Terrell on the outside. Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke. If they can play a dominant game in the trenches, I think we'll be fine. Jalen Ford will do his thing. Jahdae Barron will do his thing. He'll be flying around all over the place. We have to make them methodically beat us down the field. I don't think that we will win if we're giving up bombs, 40, 50, 60-yard bombs. I don't think we can win like that. If they're getting down the field methodically, I feel a lot better about our defense because guess what? We have the second best red zone defense in the country. If we can force them to make their way down the field, we'll be fine. And winning on early downs too, because with their high tempo offense like that, we have to push them behind the chains a little bit. Get them on 2nd and 13s. Get them on 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, because that kind of takes them out their element, gets them out of what they want to do. They actually have to decipher the defense and come up with a really good game plan on a specific play or drive and whatnot. So if we can get it behind the sticks, that would be great too. But methodically make them drive down the field and rely on a red zone defense to stop them. What I didn't mention earlier when I was talking about Texas's offense before I get into the keys and prediction here, our red zone offense has not been good. We have to finish in the red zone if we're going to win this game with touchdowns. Not only we have to do that because OU's offense is explosive and they'll probably get touchdowns, our kicking game is questionable and shaky right now with Bert Auburn. Let's see if he shakes off the rust a little bit. Let's see if Sark still trusts him. Seems like he still has that high level of trust in Bert Auburn. But in a game like this, you need execution on special teams. We've seen it before on special teams in this game years back. I mean, Shipley's kickoff return. We've seen Dicker the kicker. We've seen Xavier Worthy muff the kickoff a couple years ago. Like special teams, it's gonna happen in this game. Something's gonna happen in this game, and hopefully it's in our favor. Speaking of muffs, hopefully we don't muff any punts this week or kickoffs this week. We muffed 3 of them against Baylor. Lost 2 punts. You got to have that buttoned up. Now, my 3 biggest keys in this game. 1 is a fast start. Who will get off to a fast start in this game? 2, the red zone. Can Texas' struggling offense finish in the red zone? And Can Oklahoma score on Texas's stifling red zone defense? Who wins that matchup? Number 3, who handles swings and momentum better? Who handles a turnover better? Who handles a blown coverage better? Who recovers? Who takes advantage of the opportunities in this game? That's going to be the winner. Speaking of winners, I have Texas winning this game but not covering. Texas wins 38-34. It'll be another classic, another certified hood classic in the rivalry of Texas versus OU. I think OU actually, in my head, I'm thinking that OU is going to get off to a better start because they got 49-0 last year. They haven't scored on us in 700-something days. They're going to come out swinging. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to throw a punch. We're going to have to settle into the game quickly and counter that. And as the game goes along, our line of scrimmages take over. Jonathan Brooks takes over. And I think Texas ends up winning this game 38-34, closes it out in the fourth. Y'all let me know y'all think about this game, who wins and why. But this is Jimmy from Just the Facts Horns. Hook 'em.